Most men talk too much and say too little, but if you knew the right 3 words delivered at the right time, you'd never chase again. Women would chase you when it comes to attraction. Most people misunderstand what truly draws a woman in. It's not the flashy pickup lines, the expensive clothes, or the constant compliments. Those things might grab her attention for a moment, but they rarely hold it. What women are deeply drawn to is something far more subtle and powerful. It's psychological. Attraction is rooted in how you make her feel about herself when she's around you, and, more importantly, how you carry yourself as a man. Your words only matter when they come from a place of emotional control, self-respect, and certainty. That's where real magnetism begins. Women are biologically wired to respond to cues of strength, leadership, and emotional stability. These are not traits you loudly advertise, they're quietly demonstrated through how you speak, how you move, and how you respond under pressure. This is why confident, grounded men tend to be irresistible without even trying. They don't chase, they don't over-explain, they don't need to seek approval, because they're already secure in themselves. When you speak less but with more purpose, it signals that you're not desperate for her attention. You're not seeking to impress, you're simply being. And that calm, detached energy creates a vacuum that naturally pulls her in. Think about it. When someone doesn't talk much but says something profound, people listen. When a man isn't reacting emotionally to every little thing, people take notice. And when a man speaks with weight behind his words, not volume, but weight, he instantly commands respect. This is why the psychology of female attraction is so tied to your internal state as a man. Your energy, your demeanor, and your presence matter more than anything you say. But when you do speak, and it's aligned with inner confidence, those words become 10 times more powerful. The right words delivered from the wrong energy fall flat. But the simplest words, said with presence, authority, and calm detachment, can be unforgettable. That's why mastering your mindset and emotional state is the foundation of attraction. Because when a woman senses that you're not fazed, not easily impressed, and not trying to prove yourself, she becomes curious, she starts to lean in, she starts to wonder, why isn't he affected like the others? And just like that, without even trying, you've created magnetic tension. That's the psychology behind attraction. It's not about being perfect. It's about being in control. Most men go wrong in the very beginning by believing they need to constantly prove themselves to be worthy of a woman's attention. They think the more they talk, the more she'll like them. So they go out of their way to compliment her, shower her with praise, try to make her laugh, and agree with everything she says, all in the hope of being accepted. But this strategy backfires almost every time, because underneath all those words, women can sense the real motive, validation, seeking, and that's exactly what turns them off. When a man is trying too hard to be liked, it screams insecurity. It reveals that he doesn't see himself as the prize, that he believes he needs to earn her affection instead of assuming he's already enough. This behavior creates a dynamic where the woman becomes the authority, the judge, the one who decides if you're good enough. And when you place her on that pedestal, you shrink yourself in her eyes. She begins to see you not as an equal, not as a leader, but as someone trying to win her approval. That subtle shift kills attraction. Women don't want a man who's desperate to be liked. They want a man who is already solid within himself, who doesn't need her attention to feel validated. And when you flood a conversation with constant reassurance, compliments, or emotional over-explaining, you strip away your own value without even realizing it. Another major issue is that when you talk too much, you remove all the mystery. You reveal everything about yourself far too soon. The moment she feels like she knows exactly who you are and what you're about before any real connection has been built, she loses interest. It's human nature. People are drawn to what they don't fully understand. Mystery creates intrigue. Intrigue creates emotional investment. But when you're constantly laying out your thoughts, your emotions, and your intentions, there's nothing left for her to wonder about. And when there's no curiosity, there's no pull. On top of that, over-communication, especially when it's driven by anxiety or neediness, has the opposite effect of what you intend. You may think you're showing her how much you care, how attentive and emotionally available you are, but what she actually experiences is pressure. She feels the weight of your expectations. She senses that your happiness depends on her response. That's a heavy burden to place on someone, especially early on. And when a woman feels that kind of emotional pressure, her instincts kick in, she pulls away. She tests you. She wants to see if you'll hold your frame or if you'll crumble, get reactive, and try even harder to win her over. The truth is, most of what men say in the pursuit of women is driven by fear of losing her, fear of not being good enough, fear of rejection. And that fear seeps through every word, every over-explained message, every long paragraph trying to justify your actions or emotions. It doesn't come across as strength. It comes across as insecurity. That's why less is more. That's why holding back, being selective with your words, and speaking from a place of composure is so powerful. Because when you don't say much, you leave room for her imagination. You allow her to project value onto you. You give her space to wonder who you are and what you're thinking. And that space, that silence, is where real attraction begins to build. There's a reason the most respected and desired men in the room are often the quietest ones. It's not because they're shy or afraid to speak, it's because they understand the power of restraint. Saying less but with clear intent sends a strong message. You're in control of yourself. You don't need to force words to fill the silence, and you're not trying to win anyone over. This kind of presence is rare, and it commands attention. When you speak only when necessary and every word is deliberate, it forces people, especially women, to listen more closely. You create an aura of mystery, confidence, and calm dominance simply by not rushing to express everything that crosses your mind. Words carry energy, and when they come from a place of purpose, they land differently. Anyone can talk, but not everyone can speak with impact. Most men throw words around to impress or entertain, thinking it will boost their chances. But the man who doesn't feel the need to explain himself, the man who can sit in silence without becoming nervous, that man radiates a deeper kind of power. He's not trying to gain approval, he already approves of himself. That's why intentional speech is such a strong marker of emotional intelligence and masculine maturity. It shows that you think before you speak, that you're not reactive, and that you're focused on quality over quantity. Women are incredibly sensitive to emotional cues. They can pick up on insecurity, nervous energy, or desperation within seconds of interacting with you. When you're constantly talking, seeking validation through stories, jokes, or compliments, she might smile or laugh, but deep down, she's registering that you're seeking something from her, and that weakens your position. On the other hand, when you say less, when you're calm, unbothered, and speak only when you actually mean something, you flip the dynamic. Now, instead of you chasing her attention, she becomes curious about you. She starts wondering what's going on in your mind. She wants to know more. Because you're not giving everything away, this is where the shift happens. When you speak with intent, you stop trying to impress and start expressing. You say things that actually represent your mindset, your values, your boundaries. And when you do that, even 3 or 4 words can have a lasting effect. A simple sentence like "that doesn't work for me," or "I'm not available," can carry more authority than 1,000 compliments. Why? Because it shows standards. It shows that you're not afraid to say no, and that's deeply attractive to women, because it signals that you're not afraid to lose her. You don't fear rejection. You're not chasing, you're choosing. This is the essence of powerful communication. It's not about how many words you use, it's about the energy behind them. If your words come from confidence, you don't need a lot. In fact, the fewer you use, the more powerful you become. You create space, you build tension, and you draw her in without trying. You let her do the work of connecting the dots, and that involvement creates investment. When a woman has to figure you out, she becomes emotionally engaged. But when everything is laid out too clearly, too soon, she loses interest. So when you speak, speak with meaning. Let your words reflect strength, composure, and clarity. Don't explain your worth, demonstrate it through your actions and your energy, and when you do speak, make it count. A man who says little but speaks with purpose will always stand out from the noise, because in a world of constant talking, the one who speaks with weight becomes unforgettable. I don't care. On the surface, these three words sound simple, even harsh, but when used correctly, they hold enormous psychological power, not because of what they literally mean, but because of what they imply. They send a signal that you are emotionally self-contained, unaffected by external validation, and deeply secure in who you are. This doesn't mean being cold, disrespectful, or indifferent to people's feelings. It means being unshakable. It means you've reached a point where your self-worth is no longer tied to how someone else sees you, especially a woman you're trying to attract. When you say, "I don't care," in the right way, you're not saying that nothing matters. You're saying you matter more than the situation. You're expressing emotional detachment, a rare quality in a world where most people are reacting to everything and everyone around them. Women notice this difference immediately. Most men are emotionally reactive. If a woman pulls back, goes cold, or throws a test his way, he scrambles to fix it. He texts more, calls more, tries harder. Why? Because deep down he's afraid of being ignored, afraid of rejection, afraid of losing the chance with her. But the man who calmly says, "I don't care," is saying, "I won't be manipulated. I won't be moved by insecurity. I won't abandon my dignity to keep someone interested." This is not about being emotionally numb, it's about being emotionally in control. And that level of control is powerfully attractive. It flips the dynamic instantly. Suddenly, you're not the one chasing. You're the one with standards. You're the one she has to win over, and whether she realizes it consciously or not, women are biologically tuned to respond to strength. Not brute strength, not arrogance, but the strength of a man who is self-possessed, composed, and emotionally untouchable. When you're that kind of man, "I don't care" isn't an insult, it's a declaration of your value. But timing and tone matter. Saying "I don't care" doesn't mean being rude or dismissive. It's not something you throw out to hurt someone. It's something you express with calm confidence when a woman tries to test you, provoke a reaction, or gain control over the emotional dynamic. When she says something to get under your skin and you respond with a smile and a simple "I don't care," it instantly shows her that her attempts to shake your frame don't work. You're not emotionally dependent on her, and that kind of independence makes her feel drawn to you on a subconscious level. It's also important to understand that "I don't care" is a mindset, not just a phrase. It's a way of living where your identity is rooted in self-respect. You don't chase approval. You don't beg for attention. You don't compromise your standards just to keep someone around. You know what you want, and you're not afraid to walk away if something doesn't align with that. Women notice this attitude even when you don't say the words out loud. It's in the way you carry yourself, in the way you respond to conflict, and in the way you handle rejection. A man who truly embodies the spirit of "I don't care" doesn't panic when a woman becomes distant. He doesn't overanalyze, beg, or lose sleep. He simply moves forward focused on his purpose, his growth, and his peace of mind. And here's what makes this so magnetic. Women are used to being prize. They're used to men bending over backward, trying to win their favor. So when they meet a man who doesn't chase, who doesn't flinch when she withdraws, who doesn't get jealous or desperate, it creates an emotional tension she's not used to. She starts to think about you more. She wonders why she can't get to you. She becomes curious, and that curiosity grows into attraction, because now you're not just another man trying to get her. You're the man she's trying to figure out. You've flipped the power dynamic without raising your voice, without playing games, and without being fake. All because you stood firm and simply genuinely didn't care. There's an undeniable strength in emotional control, the ability to feel everything but show only what you choose to. In the world of male-female dynamics, this skill separates boys from men. When a man is emotionally reactive, he's easy to read, easy to manipulate, and ultimately, easy to lose respect for. But a man who keeps his emotions in check, who doesn't explode when provoked or collapse when things don't go his way, stands out in a powerful way. Women don't just notice this kind of man, they become drawn to him. Because emotional control represents mastery over self. It's not about being cold or suppressing your feelings. It's about owning them, managing them, and not letting them manage you. Most women test men without even realizing it. It's often subconscious. They want to know, is this man strong enough to handle me? Can he stay composed when I pull away, get moody, or challenge him emotionally? These tests are not always malicious sometimes. They're instinctive. Women want to feel safe with a man, and safety doesn't come from muscles or money. It comes from emotional resilience. The man who doesn't get flustered when she gives him attitude. The man who doesn't chase when she suddenly goes quiet. The man who doesn't beg when she threatens to leave. That's the man who earns her deepest respect and eventually her submission. But here's where most men mess up. They allow a woman's behavior to dictate their mood. She doesn't text back. He becomes anxious, checks his phone every 5 minutes. She acts distant. He becomes needy, starts over-texting, trying to fix things. She gets upset. He bends over backwards to smooth it out, even if he wasn't wrong. All of these are examples of poor emotional control. It tells her that she has emotional power over you, and once she realizes that, the dynamic shifts permanently. You are no longer the stable, masculine presence. You become just another guy whose emotions are tied to her attention. The truth is, emotional control isn't just about what you avoid doing, it's about what you choose to do. It's the decision to take a deep breath instead of reacting. It's the discipline to respond with silence instead of anger. It's the strength to walk away instead of arguing with someone who just wants a reaction. Every time you stay calm in the face of tension, you're demonstrating leadership. You're showing that you lead yourself first, and that's what qualifies you to lead in a relationship. Women are drawn to this kind of man because he provides something rare, emotional grounding. She can storm, she can test, she can have her moments, but he remains rooted. He doesn't sway with every mood she has. That steadiness, that unwavering presence, is what makes her feel safe and deeply attracted. Another layer to emotional control is knowing when to not speak. Not every situation requires an immediate response. In fact, sometimes silence is your most powerful move. It gives you time to observe, to think, to decide how you want to respond rather than how you feel like reacting. When a woman sees that you don't fall into emotional traps, when you can hear something upsetting and still keep your cool, she begins to view you as rare. She sees you as a man who cannot be thrown off center. And in a world full of emotionally impulsive men, that quality alone elevates you above the rest. But emotional control also means being in control of your desires. It's easy to lose composure when you want someone badly. When you're sexually or emotionally invested in a woman, it becomes harder to stay detached, but that's exactly when control matters most. When you can maintain your self-respect, your standards, and your personal boundaries even while you desire her, you're operating from a place of strength, not need. That's what allows you to walk away when things aren't right. That's what allows you to say no when she crosses a line, and that's what keeps you in the position of power, not over her, but over yourself. Women are not attracted to emotional chaos. They may be entertained by it, even addicted to it for a time, but they do not trust it. What they are attracted to, and what they ultimately commit to, is the man who brings peace. Not the peace that comes from being passive or avoiding conflict, but the peace that comes from strength, from knowing who you are, knowing what you stand for, and refusing to be emotionally shaken by someone else's storm. That's what emotional control looks like in its highest form. It's not just about holding back your tears or biting your tongue. It's about ruling your internal world so completely that no external circumstance can pull you out of your center. There's something profoundly magnetic about a man who knows how to say less and let his presence do the talking. This is the essence of masculine energy, calm, grounded, still, and powerful. In contrast to the chaotic, expressive, emotional nature of feminine energy, masculine energy provides balance. It doesn't chase, it doesn't beg, it doesn't need to prove itself. It simply is asterisk. And when a man embodies this stillness, when he moves through the world with quiet confidence, controlled emotions, and unshakable purpose, women feel it on an instinctual level. They may not even be able to explain why they're drawn to him, but they are, because masculine energy is rare, especially in a society that encourages men to be hyper, emotional, constantly expressive, and endlessly reactive. Masculine energy doesn't need to seek approval. It's rooted in purpose, it's focused, it's mission-oriented. A man who is operating in his masculine is not waiting around for a woman to complete him. He's already complete. He's building, creating, leading, and anyone who enters his life is joining a path he's already walking. That self-assuredness changes the entire dynamic, because instead of orbiting around women or relationships, he becomes the center of gravity, and women, especially feminine women, want to be pulled into that. They want to feel anchored to a man who knows where he's going, who doesn't waver, who stands firm when life gets chaotic. This doesn't mean being robotic or emotionally disconnected. True masculine energy isn't about suppressing your emotions, it's about mastering them. It's about feeling deeply but responding selectively. It's about moving with intention. When you live this way, everything about you becomes more compelling. Your voice carries weight. Your body language exudes certainty. Your decisions come from clarity, not desperation. And in a world filled with men who talk too much, explain too much, and apologize too much for who they are, the man who stays grounded in his masculine becomes a rare and irresistible force. One of the key aspects of masculine energy is the ability to remain unfazed. Life will throw tests at you, women will throw tests at you. The difference lies in how you respond. The masculine man doesn't flinch when he's challenged. He doesn't raise his voice to prove he's in control. He doesn't get sucked into emotional spirals. Instead, he observes. He listens, he waits. And when he speaks or acts, he does so with purpose. That restraint, that discipline, that ability to delay gratification and not be moved by every impulse, it's the very thing that signals to a woman, this man is different. He's not like the rest. Women don't want to lead in the long run. They don't want to carry the emotional weight of the relationship. They don't want to feel like they're with a man who needs reassurance, who gets emotional over every little shift in energy. They want a man who can hold space, not just for them, but for himself. A man who doesn't crumble when things get uncomfortable. A man who doesn't seek comfort in the form of attention, validation, or constant emotional expression. This is why cultivating your masculine energy isn't just about attracting women, it's about becoming someone you respect, a man who knows who he is, a man who leads himself, a man who doesn't need to be told what to do, how to act, or how to feel. He just knows. And from this space, the words you speak or don't speak carry tremendous weight. When a man who is firmly grounded in his masculine energy says something, people listen because they know he isn't speaking just to hear himself. He's not looking for approval or recognition. He speaks because he has something to say. That's why when you use just a few words, when you speak calmly, with confidence and conviction, those words land harder, they linger, they hit different, because they are not cluttered with insecurity. They come from a place of power. In the end, masculine energy is about mastery of yourself, your emotions, your mission, and your energy. It's about becoming the mountain in a world full of shifting winds. And when you learn to embody this not as an act, not as a tactic, but as a way of being, you won't need to chase women. You won't need to convince them of your value. They'll feel it the moment you enter the room, because true masculine energy doesn't need to be explained. It's felt, it's recognized, and it's impossible to ignore. So understand this. You don't need cheesy pickup lines, constant validation, or to become someone you're not. You simply need to embody the energy of a man who knows his worth, who speaks with intention, who doesn't chase, and who operates from a place of stillness and strength. When you say these three simple words with presence, with power, and with principle, you're not casting a spell. You're revealing who you are, and the right women will feel it, be drawn to it, and pursue you in return. Because in the end, it's not about manipulating attraction, it's about becoming the kind of man who naturally attracts everything he wants, without ever needing to force it.